Okay, guys, so we are gonna graph. They're both in standard form, which is ax plus by equals c. It's down here. Okay, what do we know? What does ax plus by equals c give us? Slope. So if you remember from before break, we know that the opposite of a over exact b is our slope. Sorry. Okay, so opposite a over exact b. And we can also call our slope our rise over run. And remember, when we're graphing a slope, up is positive, down is negative, right is positive, left is negative. So that's what we can find from standard form right away. So knowing that, if we look at example 1, what's the opposite of a? Positive 4 over exact b, 7. Does 4 over 7 simplify? No, so there's our slope. Now, can I just go ahead and start plotting that slope? No. What do I need first? A point. It can be an intercept, but it doesn't matter what it is as long as you get a point, right? You have to have a point, a starting point. So knowing that this is positive, so we're going to go up, and this is positive, so we're going to go right once we start graphing that. That's a right arrow. A really bad one, but it's a right arrow. So after that, do y'all remember what we would find after we found our slope? Our intercepts. It could be x or y, remember? Because we know that with x-intercepts, y equals 0. And with y-intercepts, x equals 0. So knowing that, we can choose which intercept to solve for. Now, do y'all remember when we would be like, does 4 go into 42? Does 4 go into 42? No, it doesn't. Not pretty. So we don't want to find x because it's going to give us a decimal. And can we plot a decimal? No. So does 7 go into 42? Yes. So we want to find the y-intercept. So y-intercept is where x equals 0. And remember, we're going to rewrite this, but instead of x, we're going to put 0. So we have negative 4 times 0 plus 7y equals negative 42. Well, y'all, what's negative 4 times 0? 0. So this goes away, and we're left with 7y equals negative 42. How do I solve that? Divide by 7. And what does y equal? No, negative 6. So now we have a point. We know that this is my y-intercept. Okay, so if this is x, I'm sorry, this is y. Good Lord. Y to the sky, x side to side. Okay, y is negative 6. We're going to find negative 6 on this line, which is down here. Now can I start doing my slope? Yes. So I'm going to rise 4, run 7. So rise 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now I could try to rise 4 and run 7 again, but it's not going to fit on my graph. What can I do to try to get another point? I could do opposite. Do the backwards. So down 4, left 7. Did that bring me back to my original? Yes. So I can do it again. Down 4, left 7. And those are the only 3 points that will fit. And it's an equation, so it's just a solid line. Any questions with that? Okay, so let's look at example 2. What's different? I'm going to shade. Why am I going to shade? Who remembers what that's called? This is greater than or equal to, but what's like the term? Inequalities, right? This is an inequality. It's a greater than or equal to. Okay, what I want you to remember, though, about greater than or equal to is that less than and greater than get a dashed line because they don't hold solution, right? And then less than or equal to, greater than or equal to get a solid line because they do hold solutions. Do y'all remember that? Yeah. So let's start with our slope. This is my A, B, C. So what's opposite of A? Negative 3 over exact b. Negative 2. Does this simplify? To positive 3 over 2. Now the numbers don't simplify, but the negatives cancel because 2 negatives makes a positive. So we have our slope. It's positive, so we're going to rise 3, run 2. And then I need to find an intercept. Now, on this one, does it matter which intercept I find? No, because 3 goes into 6 and 2 goes into 6, so it doesn't matter which one I find. So I'm going to find my x-intercept just to be different from the last one. That's where y equals 0. So I'm going to rewrite this, but with y is 0. So 3x minus 2 times 0. And I'm going to do it as an equal sign because I'm looking for right now the line. And the line is where it's equal. Okay, so we're going to ignore the symbol for right now. We're just going to use an equal sign. Well, what's 2 times 0? It cancels. And what do I do now to solve? Divide both sides by 3. And that gives me x equals what? 2. Now this is where you need to be super careful because this time we solved for our x-intercept. So this is y, this is x. If you look at my key later, you're going to see I made a mistake here. This is x is 2. And then what's my slope? Yeah, rise 3, run 2. Rise 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. This one didn't print as well. I don't know why. 1, 2. So just guesstimate. And then, but the other side did. I don't know. Down 3, left 2, because we can do opposite, opposite. So down 3, left 2, down 3, left 2. Now, is this one going to be a solid line or a dashed line? Solid, because it has that equal to underneath. So we're going to have a solid line. Now, one thing that we messed up on a lot before break was this part. We need to shade, okay? And before I did teach y'all if y was alone, you could just look at the symbol, right? Greater than was above, less than was below. But is y alone? No. So it's a 50-50 chance on if you do it above, okay? However, the proper way to do it is to test a point because we can't always trust the symbol when y is not alone. So do y'all remember what point was the easiest to test? 0, 0. But can we test 0, 0 if it's on the line? No, we're testing any point that's not on the line. You could technically test negative 6, 4. It doesn't matter. Any point that's not on the line, okay? The easiest one to do is just 0, 0. So knowing that 3 times 0 minus 2 times 0 is greater than or equal to 6. And what's anything times 0? So this whole thing can become 0. That's why it's the easiest point to plug in. 0 is greater than or equal to 6. True or false? Huh? False. So this side is false, and this side is true, and where do we shade? The true side. So we're going to shade below, but like I said, if you looked at the symbol, what would you have shaded? Above. So you have to be super careful. Any questions with those two? Okay, cool. So now we're going to look at special cases. Do y'all remember the acronym for special cases? So it was HOI-VUX. So we knew HOI, and then we knew VUX. What did HOI stand for? Horizontal. Because if you graph it, it's going to be a horizontal line. What does the O stand for? Zero slope. 0, I know it's an O, but it's 0 slope. And then y equals no x equation. That's what makes it a special case. It only has one letter. Okay, what does V stand for? Vertical. What does U stand for? Anybody remember? Undefined. Slope. Which I want y'all to realize, y'all, is if you're solving for slope, that's when 0 is on the bottom. Doesn't matter what number is up top, that's a number sign. A hashtag. Okay, and what doesn't matter what number is on top, but if 0 is on the bottom, it's undefined. Okay? Now I want you to realize 0 is 0 on top and any number on bottom. So it's allowed to have 0 on top, not on bottom. Yes? This equals 0, this equals undefined. And then it's an x equals no y equation. Thank you. Okay, so this one says, example 3, says, write the equation of a line that has a slope m equals 0 and goes through the point -2, 4. Well, m equals 0 means it has a 0 slope, correct? So if I look here, that means what kind of equation am I going to have? A y equals no x. So y equals, and it goes through the point -2, 4. So what, y equals what? What does y equal? You said it? 4. Any questions with that? Okay. So then it says, write the equation of a line that passes through the point 4, -6, and 4, 2. What do you notice? What's the same? The 4's. The x's match. If you notice that the x's match, or even the y's match, now x and y can match, it doesn't matter. But if both x's match or both y's match, it's a special case. Okay? So if both x's match, it's a VUX because it's an x equals. What does x equal here? 4. So if you notice that they match, you don't even have to find the slope because you see that both of them are x's and you're done. If both the y's match, it would be the same concept. It would be y equals whatever they match, and then you're done. However, if you didn't notice, because sometimes we just get going and we don't notice, right? Remember that you have to find your slope. So slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Well, what's my y2? 2 minus what's my y1? -6, and then the 2 negatives makes a plus, you're right. And then we have x2, which is 4, minus x1, which is 4. If I type this in my calculator, it's going to tell me error, divide by 0. As soon as I see error, I should know it's undefined. Yes? If I do it by hand, I get 8 over 0, and what did we say when 0 is on the bottom? It's undefined. So again, I know it's x equals. Does that make sense? Okay. And if you ever aren't sure when it equals 0 and when it's undefined, you can literally type in your calculator. 8 over 0, see how it tells me error? So it obviously doesn't equal 0, because if it equaled 0, what would it say? 0, right? So watch, if it does equal 0, if we did 0 over 8, see how it just tells me 0? So if you're ever not sure which one's which, type in your calculator, see what it equals. Cool? Awesome. Okay, so those are our special cases. And then we have standard form. I keep wanting to say absolute value, and I don't know why. So standard form is ax plus by equals c. And what did we say at the very beginning of today's lesson that we remember? Opposite of a over b. We know that standard form gives me my slope. Opposite a over exact b. So I know that when I'm looking for standard form, I have to find a, b, and c. And I'm going to start with my slope. Okay, if it didn't give me a slope, I'm going to find my slope. So what's the opposite of this? -2 is a, and what's exact b? 3. Now, I don't know if y'all remember, but a is not allowed to be negative. But we fix that at the end, right? So we plug in what we know. We know -2x plus 3y equals, we don't know c. What do we use to find c? Don't we just plug in our point? Yeah, we like these. These are simple. So we have -2 times what's my x? -3. Plus 3 times what's y? Whatever that equals is my c value. So knowing that, we have -2 parentheses -3 plus 3 parentheses 9, and it equals 33. Now, before I write my final equation, a is not allowed to be negative, so what do I have to do? Yeah, remember we would just switch all the signs. So if this is negative, it becomes positive. If this was positive, it becomes negative. Positive becomes negative. So that's my a, b, and c. That's my final a, b, and c. So I have +2x plus b is negative 3. I put in plus, I'll rewrite it in a second. Y equals c, which is negative 33. So the proper way you're going to see this is 2x minus 3y equals negative 33. However, if you put plus a negative, that's the same thing as subtracting, so I would not count off. Okay? Any questions with that one? We like those. I feel like those are simpler than slope-intercept form sometimes. But we like slope-intercept form because we can type in our calculator. They both have their pros and cons. Now, when it comes to slope-intercept form, that's this one. Do y'all remember that we used point-slope form to find it? Because we were always ended up with a point, a random point, and a slope. Okay? And point and a slope goes into point-slope form, not slope-intercept form. What if it gave me my y-intercept, though? Could I just use this form? Yes. So remember, M stands for slope. B stands for your y-intercept. Y-intercept is where x is 0, so 0 comma something. Now, did either of these give me my y-intercept? No, so I can't just plug these in and be happy. Okay, this one gives me my slope, and it always gives me a point, x1 comma y1. Now, I don't know if y'all remember, but we used to always say it's opposite, and I'm going to show you why here in just a second. So what do I need to find first? Say it. Yeah, slope. I have 2 points, and I need to find my slope from those 2 points before I can plug it into either of these equations. So, or formulas. So I'm going to do x1, y1, x2, y2. So what's my y2? Minus what's my y1? Negative 1. Now remember, you have to have a minus there every single time, even if the number you're plugging in is negative. Okay? That's another mistake that a lot of people made. So x2 is 3 minus x1 is negative 3. Now you can type this in your calculator, or you can do it by hand. If you type in your calculator, type it just like this. Okay, if you do it by hand, these become what? Yeah, they're broken plus signs. So negative 3 plus 1 is negative 2 over 3 plus 3 is 6, which simplifies. If you struggle with simplifying, can you just type it in your calculator? Yeah, if you're ever not sure if it simplifies, you can also type it in your calculator, and it does simplify to negative 1/3. Now, if you just typed the original in your calculator, that's what it's going to give you. Negative 3 minus negative 1 over 3 minus negative 3. See how it just gave me 1/3? It skips the simplifying step. Okay. So now I know slope, and I know a point. I don't know my y-intercept, so I have to use point slope. So I know y minus, well, what did I label y1? Negative 1. It doesn't technically matter which equation you use, but, or sorry, which point, but I labeled this one x1 and y1, so I'm just going to use it because it's already labeled. Equals my slope, which is negative 1/3, parentheses, x minus, what's x1? Negative 3. And then we know that slope-intercept is when y is alone, so we're just going to solve for y. And I'll have my answer in slope-intercept form. So first things first, I'm going to distribute. Now, don't these both become plus signs? Yes. So I have y plus 1 equals negative 1/3 x. And then negative 1/3 times 3, if you struggle with multiplying with fractions. Negative 1/3 times 3. Now, doesn't multiplication cancel division? So these are going to cancel, and it's just going to equal negative 1. Okay, now what's my last step? What do I need to get rid of to get y by itself? Yeah, I need to get rid of this plus 1, and the opposite of plus 1 is minus 1. So I'm going to subtract 1 from both sides. Not from the 1/3, because that has an x, this doesn't. So from the negative 1. And I get y equals negative 1/3 x minus 2. And the best part about solving for slope-intercept form is we can always check our work. We know the slope is negative 1/3, but we can type it here. You can't type standard form in here. Ooh, not 33. And you can go to your table and see if it has those 2 points. So do I have -3, -1? And do I have +3, -3? So I did it correctly. Okay, so this is what you're working on. It's only 9 problems. 2 of them are special cases, 3 of them are graphs. I do have an answer key for you to check your work. If you have questions, what should you do?